This week's discussion exercise is slightly different than what we've done in the past few weeks. With that in mind, we've created this overview to help guide you and show you what our expectations are in this active learning exercise. Before joining the discussions this week, please read the chapter, in this case chapter 7, complete the exercises, and ensure you have a grasp on the topic at hand, budgeting and financial management. You'll need to know the material in the text in order to relate this to the real-world case studies that we'll examine this week during our discussion. Chapter 4 has got a strong connection to this chapter, for there's been far too many public and non-profit employees charged with malicious criminal acts involving misappropriation of public funds, as well as mismanagement of public funds. An example of this nexus is seen in the text on page 263 under the heading Play It Straight. There's a great deal of ethical decision-making entrusted to those who are charged with managing public funds, usually with lots of money at stake. We, among the general public, are counting on our public administrators and elected officials to act responsibly on our behalf. The majority of public administrators do take that responsibility very seriously. Unfortunately, some ethically challenged employees have let us down, though, as we've seen in the recent past. In our discussions for this week, we hope to see examples of both good and bad budget and financial management practices in public administration. And you're going to help steer the discussions and the exact topics which you wish to research and look into and bring back to the rest of the class for discussion. You don't have to look far to find examples of budgets gone bust. Right here in Southern California, you can find examples of mismanagement of public funds and/or ethical compromises by public administrators for their personal gain. Look at the bankruptcy filing by the city of San Bernardino and see how close to home this subject really hits. Consider how many people there were directly or indirectly involved in how we got to that point. How long were there warning signs? And what did the public administrators there do or not do? This is some examples of the type of discussions we hope to have this week. You'll likely someday be part of the budget process for the public or non-profit agency you work for, such as being on a committee making recommendations on financial affairs involving the budgeting and spending of public funds. This week, we take a slightly different approach to the discussion format. This should give you, the course participants, a chance to help steer the discussions and connect this week's readings and exercises to the recent or current events in real-world application. For our discussions, let's expand upon the subject of public finance and budget as it relates to public administration. This is a very wide area to examine. This week, you'll use your internet search capability and/or library resources as you decide your own topic for discussion, seeking out a current or recent, and by recent we mean 2012 or later please, a matter involving public finance and budget as it relates to public administration. We'd suggest you look for articles or media stories that involve some aspect of public administration budget practices relative to this week's subject covered in the text or in the exercises we did this week. Any of the material covered is fair game for this discussion. We want you to find real-world examples that you can bring forward and discuss with the rest of us. Take a bit of time and enjoy the research aspect of this assignment. Browse some articles, see what you can turn up. This is important. Your primary objective should be to find a pertinent article that helps further the learning for all of us in PA 380 as it relates to this week's subject matter, public finance and budget. For this week's discussion, you'll look at current or recent topics involving public finance and budget matters involving nonprofit or public organizations. This can include cities, counties, state, or federal level matters. Any level could apply. Virtually any department within those agencies could be the basis for discussion on this topic. We suggest you consider a topic and/or an agency finance matter that relates to or impacts you in your current or future career. Once you decide on a good subject or article, you'll do the following. First, provide a short summary or a synopsis of the budget and finance matter. Tell us where it occurred and who's involved. Just give us the Reader's Digest version of what occurred, the repercussions, and tell us how it relates to the subjects that we're covering this week in the text or the exercises. That's part of the grade. Show a nexus to our reading and learning objectives. Second, tell us briefly what was the impact of the matter for good or bad. Who's affected? Tell us your opinion about this matter. Do you agree with what was done or the reasons given for why it occurred? Were there alternatives? Consider whether there was a better way to do something or warning signs that were missed or ignored. Maybe you find a positive example of good budgeting practices. You could tell us why you believe it was so positive. For example, who benefited? Finally, give us your opinion about this matter. Be persuasive. Give us at least 3 good points in your arguments for or against. If you lack credibility or can't draw from your own experience to back up your opinions, then look for a credible resource or two that can back up your opinion. Cite your resources. That's an important aspect of this exercise: persuasiveness and a sound basis for your reasoning. Since this discussion exercise is different than what you've experienced with us in the past few weeks, we are going to grade it slightly differently. This will not count as one of the graded discussions. However, there will be a grade administered for participation in the exercise. And you'll recall from the syllabus, participation in exercises is valuable, worth up to 30 points towards your grade. This is an opportunity for you to demonstrate upper division critical thinking. Please review the postings of others in your group, see if you agree or disagree about their position on the posted subject of their choice. Post a reply to 2 others. So we're looking for a minimum of 3 postings, your initial plus 2 responses. The emphasis on your postings should be informative, adding to our lesson this week with your comments to each other. The instructors and students hope to learn something from each posting. Here are some ideas for replies to each other. Maybe you see things differently. Tell us why and cite a reference if you feel it'll bolster your argument. Or perhaps you agree with the initial post, but if so, then tell us something more on that subject. Add to the discussion with mention of your own related experience. Maybe you see a nexus to the text that they've missed. If so, point that out. This is an active learning process. Please discuss, share, exchange ideas, monitor your initial posting, and engage others by responding to any concerns raised by others. If you feel something can be better clarified, go ahead, or maybe provide counterpoint in a respectful debate. The idea is to learn from each other in this process by sharing this experience to the benefit of the group knowledge as a whole. There is an advantage to posting early this week in the discussion forum. Please try not to post about the same news story, article, etc. that another student has already posted. Ideally, we're looking for 1 initial posting per topic so we can vary the subject matter. Therefore, he or she who posts first on a subject, they kind of own it. Alright, Class PA 380, you're in the driver's seat now. Impress us all. Let's see what current or recent topics you can discover and share with us. There's many ways you can go, many directions you can follow at this point. You have much freedom in this discussion exercise. Let's see what you turn up.